right, folks. Welcome back to another episode of the BoomBastiCAST. And I got to be gentile with it because I realized the last interview we did, I was a little too boombastic with my BoomBastiCAST, and half of it dropped out with the audio. You know what I mean? Which is a no-no. In this biz, it's a no-no. To not be able to do the name of your show is a no-no. You know what I'm saying? But boy, do we have a great episode for y'all out there today. My goodness, this is a fantastic deal. This is kind of like a dream and come true. You know, by the name, you might go, you might not know, you might know. But the body of work, my goodness, you know, we're gonna get into some serious stuff, you know what I mean? Billy Bryan on the stage of the BoomBastiCAST, you know what I mean? This dude's been in everything practically. Mostly, I'd say the biggest thing that we could think of is I'd probably say Stay Puft Marshmellow Man, but I only say that because Stay Puft Marshmellow Man is a staple in my childhood the same way Christmas and birthday parties are. You know what I mean? It's just like iconic. The dudes, the body, the list of we're talking about Ghostbusters, brother. We're talking about Dune, Pet Cemetery 2, Army of Darkness, Full Eclipse, Species 1 and 2, Men in Black, Phantoms, Bicentennial Man, Jurassic Park 3, I believe, Dreamcatcher, The Cat in the Hat, Spider-Man 2, The Village, Curse of Chucky, Ghostbusters reboot, Jackass Forever, the Beastmaster, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, Highway to Hell, The Gate 2, Tenacious D, The Pick of Destiny, Return of the Living Dead, Necropolis, as well as Rave to the Grave, Child's Play. You know what I mean? The dude's all over the place with greatness. We're loving it. And this was an absolute pleasure to sit down with this dude because, like I say in the interview, it's kind when I really look back. A couple of months ago, I was having a conversation with somebody. I forget who it was, and we were talking about it wasn't the great man Alex Hawk. I don't think it was. And I was trying to put a finger on the first thing that I ever seen that got me into filmmaking. And I got to say, there's a Ghostbuster book that I got as a kid, and it's kind of like a making of. And it was the first time I really kind of was like wowed by the fact of seeing how these things are done. And I do think, and as Alex knows, the magic of movie making, of the trickery, the magicianship of making films is kind of my favorite part. I love the whole thing, but my favorite part is probably really taking something and flipping it and making people think that it's something else or something else is going on. And I do the state bus that in my brain, I remember being a kid just looking at this book and the shot of the Stay Puft Marshmellow Man on the standing on New York. You know, it's I think it was plywood with a street on top of it, miniature type stuff, which we'll get into in the episode. But I remember that being the first thing that I was really like, okay, this isn't. We're not watching. There isn't a real Stay Puft Marshmellow Man on some island somewhere caged up like King Kong. You know what I mean? This is
That you know of. That you
I
know.
know that we know of. We can only speculate. We can only speculate. You know what I mean?
See, that's something for our other podcast. Behold, the Pale
That's a
Podcast.
Behold the Pill podcast type vibe. Yeah. But well, I catch that on the Boombastic Media Network, the Brethren Show. Much love to those guys over there. A lot of them are missing, but two of them are still alive. I heard. Speculation, speculation. But yeah, this was a great interview, brought to us by the great Alexander the Hawk. You know what I mean? He won't talk about how we got into it because we wouldn't want people taking our mojo, of course. But yeah, kudos to the Hawk Man for bringing this in. I don't think Alex knew about the influence that he knew I was a fan, but I don't think the influence thing struck a chord with.
Well, I mean,
You
I
know
didn't
that?
know. I don't remember you telling me about the book and the State Park
Yeah.
Marshmallow Man. I mean, I stumbled across him, and of course, um, the thing that I stumbled across was mentioning him as the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man,
Yeah.
and I was like, well, that's cool within itself. Okay,
Right. That's legendary
so
in itself. Yeah.
that's legendary. I mean, but of course, I'm not going to just stay at that. I decided to look him up, and then you start going through and seeing all of the films he's a part of, all the practical effects he's been involved with, the
Makeup,
puppetry.
yeah, yeah,
I
effects,
mean, I've said this before. I say this a million times. Um, Practical effects, I think is just plain awesome, and the
real.
the only true way I think that you should do a lot of effects, just because there's a tangible element to it. Even if it might not look like it's 100% real, it
Yeah,
still feels more real than watching a lot of the special effects you get through the computers, because you're watching it, you're like, well, that is a computer program. I mean, you can tell. I mean, there's the uncanny valley that you're just like, yep, okay. Jar Jar Binks, he's not there. He's just some animated
he's some
person.
tennis balls. He's just some tennis balls. But that,
But
you know what I mean?
here's also another thing. Going off with what Matt said, I mean, you got great actors who can work with those tennis balls and make you believe that they're actually interacting with these creatures. But there's something to say about when you have the Marshmallow Man actually there, and it gives a whole new weight. I mean, I remember watching Ghostbusters, and I mean the Demon Dogs and the Marshmallow Man, all those aspects. I felt like, my God, these things are real. I could like reach out and touch them.
Yeah.
I mean, heck, you look at like most of the stuff now in the films coming out, you're just like, it's a pretty picture, but I'm not impressed.
If we didn't have to do 7 podcasts today, I'd probably go and watch Ghostbusters again, even though I've seen it 50 times. You know what I mean?
Hey, come on, don't play with the numbers. We're talking about more like 10 podcasts today, but when
We're working hard at the media. The media is working hard for y'all out there. But yeah, dude, and I burnt in my brain from childhood. I know that we're gonna talk about a whole bunch of stuff, and we were blessed with Billy hooking us up because we just got back into the track of landing you like a 3-hour episode of BoomBastiCAST. You guys haven't caught one of them in a little bit, you know what I mean? But
yeah.
we just kept going. He was so open, so great. We talked about just about everything. There was a few things that I think the only things I didn't get to talk about was the Gate 2 and Highway to Hell, and I'm not even upset about it. You know what I mean? We went forever. We went so long with the dude that I was like, all right, we gotta let this guy go, dude. He's got a life to live. You know what I mean? He was so great to give us his time. But yeah, this was quite a journey into the career of Billy Bryan, and it's fantastic. Like I said, you might not recognize a name from the get-go, but you are gonna be, as you dive in, you're gonna realize that this dude has been an important part of your movie watching life, like us. You know what I mean? Not us watching our movies, but like we have. He's very important to our movie making life, really, for me. And I'm sure that the Ghostbusters have had a huge influence on the Hawkman because I know he
Oh
loves
yeah, first movie that scared the shit out of me.
Booyakasha, Booyakasha. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I guess since it's such a long episode, we should probably pop in real quick, you know what I mean? And get this thing started. So without any further ado, welcome to the BoomBastiCAST, the great Billy Bryan. Billy, welcome to the
Well,
show.
okay. Thank you. It's great to be here.
It's great to
Although
have
I
you.
got to point out that right now, outside the window, it's raining like um, I don't know what I can say on your podcast, but it's raining
Cats
like
and
it.
dogs. Like cats and dogs.
Yeah, exactly. And elephants, and short as your barn. You'll never see no unicorn.
Not yet. Wait till after the show, you'll be seeing a nice unicorn flown by the window. Be so happy that all three of us got together. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, exactly. Actually, oh geez, it's really coming down now. Um,
It's funny because we got rain coming our way too. You know what I mean? It's just a rainy day all around.
that's hitting pretty hard, right?
Yeah, that is. Oh, that's
Yeah.
downpouring.
Yeah.
I
All
love a
right.
good rain.
Fingers in front of the camera and all.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
so, so
So
what do you like to do on a Saturday morning?
We like to talk to you, my friend. We like to talk to you.
Oh, great,
That's how we do
great.
it. You know what I mean?
It's like cartoons, right?
Exactly. I've been trying to bring cartoons back, actually. I've been thinking about, I want to go back to Saturday morning cartoons because I got them all on DVD, you know what I mean? So it's like, I just
Oh,
want
great.
to be a child again a little bit. I think it might actually be better
Sure.
for my mental state.
Yeah, when I was growing up, it was things like Hercules, and there was a what was the name? Rex Trailer. He was a
Okay.
cowboy guy who had this Palomino horse, and he would come riding in, and he'd show some cartoons about how well the Indian boy and maybe Felix the Cat, or that sort of stuff, I think.
Yeah.
But and also Hercules. Do you remember Hercules?
Oh, I
Probably
remember
not.
Hercules. Oh, of course.
I mean, way back.
Yeah,
I mean,
the older one.
ha ha ha! That's right, Herc. That guy.
Yes, sir.
Anyway,
It's and then we got Kevin Sorbo is like our generation Hercules, I think.
oh right, sure. We did a little show he was in years later. I forget. It was for Altarian Company. We made something.
Yeah.
Whatever. Always making stuff.
No, you got to keep going. You got to keep going. That's the deal, you know. So
Yeah, I think on Monday I'm going to go modify some bodies so that they look more like the people they're supposed to be. But it's just sometimes it's just behind the scenes, tucked in under the clothes.
yeah. Hell yeah, Doogie. I love it.
Well, I mean, all of that adds to the mystique of the film. I mean, both Matt and I, like we said, we do films, and of course, we don't have $1 million budgets and all that. So all of our effects are always practical.
Yeah,
And
sure.
and we, of course, I mean, we grew up in the '80s watching all the films with the practical effects and all that. And honestly, in my humble opinion, I think practical effects, you know, just even the bad ones or the cheesy ones still hold up today compared to some of like the new quote unquote, CGI, special effects, which
Yeah.
you watch like some of these like superhero movies, and they're dropping billions of dollars on these special effects, and I'm like, okay, that's fake, that's not real. But I go back watch, let's say, Nightmare on Elm Street, and I'm like, I'm still freaked out watching this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know what you mean, although I'm I'm going to confess I'm not much of a horror film fan, so I've kind of it's all about you can't wash out your brain,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and so there's some things I'd rather not put in,
Yeah.
you
The
know.
filter. The brain's a filter, and there's always some residue left behind. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and so right here, this is where I apply my filter. I hope that's not offensive to you and your genre.
No, 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 no. Our genres, our genre was best at. It's not quite at its best now, so I could definitely agree with you on the filtering aspect of it.
Yeah, I was just thinking about practical effects. Nowadays, if they did Real Genius, for instance,
Mm,
they do fake popcorn,
yeah,
right?
for
They
sure.
felt they blew up a house with popcorn. I mean, come on, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
that is awesome.
I ever tell you about the time I met Val?
No.
I met Val 2 times. The
Oh,
first time I was working for Don Post Studios, making still suits for Dune for David Lynch.
Mm,
And I headed up the fabrication department, kind of figured out how to turn Bob. Come on, you can do it. The designers. Uh, anyway, I should have all my notes in front of me. Anyway, he gave us some images to inspire us, and then we worked from that. But then we had half the suit built, and they needed to cast Paul Muad'Dib, and so they had 3 actors come in to try on the suit, so that our screen test was their screen test, and so we dressed these 3 guys, had them do their "I'm happy to be here in Arrakis" type speech,
yeah.
and and then we went to a couple. It wasn't digital. Show it in a minute. It was a day or so later that we went into the screening room to watch dailies. I guess it was probably the next day, since they call them dailies. And so Don Post, Mark Siegel, who brought me in on the job, are sitting down front of the screening room, and in the back are David Lynch and Raffaella De Laurentiis, and they're sitting back there, kind of back and forth about, do you think? Do you think? Do you think? So we sit there and we watch Michael Biehn, Val Kilmer, and Kyle MacLachlan do that speech in their suit, and we're pretty happy with how the suit looks on any of them. But so we're kind of done with what we needed to do, but we're sitting there waiting for David and Raffaella to make a decision. And so finally, David says, "What do you guys think?" I said, "Well, Michael's too American, Val's too pretty, but Kyle has something different." To be honest, I wasn't sure if it was something good or bad, but it gave me the shiver up the back of the neck, when you know something's going on.
Yeah.
And so I thought, okay, that's worth paying attention to. And well, apparently they took my suggestion.
Hell yeah.
And then years later, we were doing Red Planet over at Steve Johnson's Edge Effects at the time, and Val was wearing the space suit, had to come in for some fittings, and we were sitting around at the break table, and I come up behind him and I said, "So, do you ever wear a still suit?" And he turns around, he grabs me like Homer and Bart,
Yeah.
He says, "You caused me that." then he laughs. He says, "Yeah, whenever Kyle and I get together, we always laugh about that." And Michael too. It's a joke between them now. It's like, my career went down the tubes because of that. I guess they could all say that. No.
How was David Lynch? I mean, we love David Lynch, and he's known to be such he's an artiste, you know what I mean? I wouldn't say he's like weird, would be a weird name, but he's just like that very artistic dude. And what's it like to kind of work with him in a way? You know what I mean?
It was fun. We had meetings at Bob's Big Boy, actually, before we got the suit started. But he'd have his tuna melt and what was it, a root beer float maybe, or maybe it's a Diet Coke, something like that. Pepsi. Anyway, and we'd sit there and yammer about specifics on the suit. Mostly it was because when we need to tear open the one suit on Dr. Kane's Max von Sydow, and so that suit, that one couldn't be, it couldn't have the fabric inside. Most of the suits were made on a leotard, and they just zip up. But that I had to glue them into it. It didn't occur to me to just glue a zipper in. But anyway, but it got me down to Churubusco Studios in Mexico City on Mother's Day, as it turned out, which didn't sit too well with the wife. But I'm down there and gluing Max into his suit. It was an experience. Got to hang out on set afterwards. In the evening, they're doing some shooting in the big rocket. I guess it's when they walk down Arrival on Arrakis or something. And Kyle, I mean, no, Rachel in Dreamcatcher. What's her name? Sean Young. There you go.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. She was Shawnee. And in fact, I was thinking of doing a bumper sticker that said "Dibs on Johnny." Wouldn't that have been funny?
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah, I don't know. What was the question?
Oh, you were David Lynch.
Oh yeah,
David Lynchy. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. He was cool. It was he was direct. I would also work after. Actually, I was on Dune, and then I was on Ghostbusters, and then after Ghostbusters, My first union job, I had to join both the Sculptors Union and SAG to build and portray Stay Puft. So I did, and so my first union job was to go over to Carlo Rambaldi's shop, and we're making some things for Cat's Eye. But then he also needed a fleshy tunnel, is how he described it in his accent. You know, the birth canal through which the little baby is born in Dune? Yeah, had to make a big 6 foot high, you know, it was a fleshy tunnel.
Yeah.
And at first we painted it pink because I didn't know and Carlo didn't know. So David comes over and he's standing there looking at it. I said, "You feeling guilty?" and so he had it painted black, you know, just so that it would blend in and not be that you know, pornographic, I guess.
Put those thoughts out there, yeah.
Exactly.
It's hard to get away from it, yeah.
Yeah.
Real quickly,
so Bob Ringwood was the name I was searching for, who did the designs of the costumes for Dune. Did about 4,000 costumes. We did about 300 of them as chill suits.
Very cool. Earlier we were talking that you're originally from like our neck of the woods over in the Massachusetts area. So like
that's right.
What kind
but
of?
I don't talk like that, do I?
No, you changed it up. You changed it up here.
Well,
it's one of they
actually,
they love to change it.
Well, actually, my parents are from the South.
Okay.
From like Alabama and all across the whole U.S., but across the South. And so, you know, they didn't actually allow. Sorry, Alexander. They didn't allow that accent in the house. You can't. What do you mean you can't? What's that? You know, I can't.
Yeah.
But, it's kind of hard
that we fight against.
But it's nice to, you know, when I see someone, then I start to pick up, you know, and become sort of chameleonic.
Yeah, it's comfy on you. You know what I mean? It's like home.
Yeah, it can be.
You know what I mean?
Can be. My sisters are still like that.
Yeah. So like, what first spawned your love for the theatrics and like movies and television and stuff like that?
Oh, okay. Well, let's see. My parents were very much into music and art. Dad sang opera, and while also being an aeronautic engineer. Not a stupid guy.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
and also he did painting drawings of his penning drawings of his photographs. And so I've kind of done some of that sort of thing since as well. Actually, a lot of the photographs are my girlfriend's, but that's beside the point. Anyway, and so we were always doing, well, first they taught us 4-part harmony for church, you know, and so we would be up in front of folks singing our part. And then in high school, every year there was a musical. And so my older brother's 5 years older than me. And so from then on, there was a musical comedy going on in the house or in the school, but, you know, parts being sung and performed all around the house. And so there was that, the artistic as well. I won Best Actor in the Tournament of Plays. That was jolly. It was a Chekhov piece. I played Ivan Vasilievich, in the Marriage Proposal.
Okay.
And my mom told me that partly the reason that I got the prize was I was wearing white gloves. I was in a tuxedo, had a top hat, but mostly I had it on my lap in front of me, and I'm fiddling with it. And the white gloves were catching the attention, and so apparently I was playing the part with my hands. And Mom told me afterwards, Billy, they were so interesting. You know, it just kept us involved. Yeah. All right, good, happy to hear it. Anyway, so it's that sort of thing. when I got to Syracuse, I joined the crew team because I'd never been a jock, but here was a chance. I was small enough that maybe I could be the coxswain. No, don't make jokes. And, yell at the guys. And so I was working out with them. But then I wasn't quite as small as a real coxswain. And so they got another guy. And about that time, we'd gone down for April vacation in Washington, thinking we'd get away from Syracuse snow, but it chased us down to there. And so we ran back up to Syracuse since the Potomac was going to freeze over. We get up there, and I'm sitting in the back. Of course, the guys are working out; they're sweating, but I'm getting wind blast across one side, which is starting to crink me up. And I'm starting to think maybe this isn't for me. And somebody said, "Hey, want to play a part in a play?" Yeah, I do. And so I switched like that. Anyway, you can see me in my loyalty.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I got the same loyalty. It's all right. You know.
So there I am at Syracuse. I did the goon squad is the folks that carry your bags in, and so they have a goon show where it's a musical comedy, and I got a part, angry kid, don't tell me what to do kind of a thing. And so I made a bunch of friends in that drama type community, and one of the guys named Bruce Tufeld, his father, Dick Tufeld, did the voice of the Lost in Space robot.
Oh.
Remember?
Yeah.
What did he say?
Warning, warning,
What did
Will
he-
Robinson. Danger, danger.
Danger. Yeah.
There you go. So Dick was visiting Bruce when they asked me to do a plant costume for a plant food commercial, and I built a pretty cool thing, and they wore it and shot the commercial for a class. And Dick had come to visit Bruce, and he was in the control booth at the time. The director runs in and says, "What do you think, Mr. Tufeld? Is there a place for me in Hollywood?" He said, "No, but there's a place for the guy that made that costume." Now, I heard about that like a couple of days later at a party, and it was like, wait, what? I was a metalsmithing major, and I was picturing this future as an impoverished silversmith on Cape Cod or something.
Yeah.
One of those guys out there
Yeah.
hammering on metal. But I really, in high school, I had learned to work with foam because of a show I saw, Jim Henson's Muppets on Puppets, and so I learned that foam, it's the stuff God uses. There's a lot of you can cut a sharp bend there, glue this together, and you end up with a nice dome or half dome or quarter, and bring a couple of those together. You got the top of a Muppet. If you want a different one underneath, that's cool too, but it's the beginning of how the stuff works. And so I saw that and started expanding on that. While at Syracuse, I was making some sculptures and costumes, and actually for Halloween, I would make the prize costume, get some, $100 prize and go out and buy some weed. You know how it is.
Oh yeah.
It was college.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was how they knew that I made costumes. And so then when I did that for their plant food commercial, then I heard that clarion call, "Go west, young man," and I when I got out of college, stuck out my thumb, crossed the country. My bicentennial rocket thumb took me all the way to Grand Junction, Colorado, and then the rides ran out. And I decided, oh well, then I'm going to have to go into town, get a bus ticket, and let them take me the rest of the way. But I'm running across the cloverleaf by the highway, and because there's a little orange Toyota pickup truck, and a couple of guys are climbing into the back, and I'm calling, "Wait!" So they bang on the roof, and the guy waited, and I climb in, and they say, "Where are you going?" I say, "I'm going into town. Gonna buy me a ticket because there's no way to get across this darn desert looking the way I do. You know, the long-haired kid with carrying the French horn, the yellow backpack, the orange sleeping bag, and on top of that there was this green. Well, it was a green costume, a piece of foam with latex on it. Somebody had a party themed green, and so I made this thing, and it was cool. And then I still had it, so I decided, well, this will show what I can do. So I rolled it up, strapped it to the back of my pack, stuck out my thumb, and got that far. These guys say, well, so you're going to get on the bus? I said, yeah. I said, why don't you come with us? We're going to the freight yards. We're going to hop a freight the rest of the way. I don't know anything about it. We'll show you. So we went there, hung out long enough to figure out which boxcar was going in our direction, and we climbed aboard. Apparently the brakemen don't care, the people that are working in the yards. Actually, in Stockton, you got to watch out because they hired a bunch of bulls, they call them, you know, cops to go in and beat up anybody they find in the boxcars. But other than that, you know, you can ask where it's going and they'll tell you, and you can get in and hang out and wait. And there's no better way to travel than boxcar because it's fast. It you got this great big wide open window. I mean, it's a vista. It's like a double sliding door in a, you know, anyway. And the vistas, they put trains where they can't put cars because it only takes track. Yeah. It doesn't take the whole freeway system. So, you know, you're right by the mountain or you're right by the desert or going up. There was one place where it went over itself. That was cool. You know, the train, you're waving at it as it goes by and then under. Anyway, then one time it jumped a track. One of the cars kind of, and we're right by the Feather River, and we go. Figured, well, we asked the brakemen who were going back, and they told us, yeah, it's going to take a couple hours. They're going to send out a crane car. They'll pick it back up, put it on, and it'll be fine. Happens here all the time, apparently. So, all right, then here we are. We've been in these filthy box cars for a day or so, and so we went down and took a bath in the river. So that was cool. And there's this little pipe sticking out of the rock, and it's dribbling water, and there's a tin cup next to it. This is clean, wonderful water. So it was a wonderful experience. And then headed on the rest of the way down towards Los Angeles, but it was in Stockton that it was early in the morning, and old Willie woke me up. He said, "Hey, you don't want to be on this boxcar when it gets to Stockton, because the bulls, they'll beat the shit out of you." And so I figured, all right then. So I got out, and it was pretty close to the fives. Stuck out my thumb and got a ride on down the rest of the way.
Hell yeah. You don't hear too much about hitchhiking across the country anymore. You know what I mean? It's
yeah.
You think it's realistically more dangerous now than it was then? Or, I mean, I feel like it's probably equally as dangerous, both eras, you know what I mean?
Maybe so.
Yeah.
It might be, but there has been a lot said about those ones that didn't make it. Yeah. And there's probably, I don't know, there's so many shows about that kind of thing. Yeah. That I'm hoping that there are more shows than there are actual occurrences. You know?
Yeah, hopefully, yeah.
Fictionalized. Well, I mean, yeah. I just saw a meme about choosing your life early on, Ed Gein didn't get started until he was, and look how many movies have been inspired by him, right? That was sort of what was said, and so makes you hope that, you know, if he got 7 movies, hopefully each of them got 7.
A lot is said about Ed Gein, but they don't talk about how great of a craftsman he was. You know what I mean? Putting them lampshades together and such.
Oh dear. Yes, exactly.
So I'm sure you probably have no idea about this, but I just wanted to bring this up. Now, you're very influential in probably me making films, believe it or not. Because as a kid, the first thing that I ever had that kind of opened my eyes up to like the magic of movie making was this little book here, this Ghostbuster book.
Oh wow!
And I know the shot of Stay Puft walking on like the platform. It was like I think plywood with the New York street, you know, and it had like a
Right.
shot underneath, and I had to do the shot with the the helm, like the head off. And it was the first time I
Yeah.
was like, wow, that's how they do that stuff. And that's probably my favorite part of movie making is the magic you can ask Hawk, like tricking people, you know, doing something that they go, well, how'd they do that? So thank you very much for that.
Well, it's funny because I got it all wrong.
Oh, really?
When the movie came out, there were offers to go tell how everything was done, but I kind of felt like I'm the punchline. You want to advertise the fact that there's the Marshmellow Man at the end of this movie before
True.
anybody goes in. So I wanted to wait, and then by the time I don't know, then it becomes, well, you know, the movie magic being given away.
True.
And I don't know. When's the last time you said, how did they do that though?
True.
You know,
Exactly.
nowadays the answer is CG.
How did you kind of get into that position, not fall, but get into that position of on Ghostbusters and the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man and
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Okay. It started with my arrival in LA, and I thought, well, what the hell? I'll call Dick Tufeld and say, hey, I took your advice. Because I'd sent him a letter earlier and say, remember that? He said, yeah, I think you really could. So I did. I gave him a call, said, hey, I'm in town. I made it. He said, hey, why don't you come on up for dinner? What? Okay. So I did. And he later stuck in his head into the at CBS into the wardrobe and said, "Hey, I know a guy," and they said, "Send him in." And so I hitchhiked into CBS uh, and talked to Judy Corbett, who was the head of wardrobe at the time, and she said, "Well, we don't have anything right now, but here's a number for Kelly Kimball over at NBC, and here's." Tommy O'Neill has a company called Fantasy Fair. You could go over there, but we don't have his number. So I thank her, take the information. I step out of CBS, and actually in the porte cochere, you know, the drive up,
Mhm.
this little sunbeam like Maxwell Smart's car
Yeah.
pulls up, and this guy, I had I stuck out my thumb. He picked me up. He did have Tommy O'Neill's phone number, so that was my first job, and it was very strange. Um,
yeah,
yeah, it had to be.
yeah.
And so, and then when Tommy ran out of work, I called Kelly, and that was my introduction to the studio system, really, because Tommy was making walk around costume kind of stuff, which was good stuff to do, know how to do, get a good view inside, because I was just making it up at the time, so
Yeah.
pick up as much information as possible. So at NBC, we were doing stuff like the Tonight Show, and actually anything with an and in it. There was Sunny Ann Cher, Donnie Ann Marie, Captain Ann Tennille.
SNL? Was there any
What?
SNL in there? Saturday Night
Oh no,
Live? No.
it wasn't up yet. I don't think. Or
Okay.
was it? Oh, they were in New York,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
and so that's and not and. Anyway,
Fair enough.
and so I was doing a lot of that kind of stuff. If they need elf shoes or a pointy hat actually the first job we did at NBC was, remember Disco Duck?
I do remember
Rick
Disco Duck. Yeah.
Rick Dees, radio guy out in LA, who got national. He came out with that silly song, and he had a head, but the body he had was fiberglass. Excuse me, and the fiberglass, it was cutting into him, and it wasn't what he wanted. So the first job I had to do in LA was a disco duck body for Rick D. How's that for damned exciting stuff?
Yeah. I like it.
Anyway, then let's see. Eventually, it was 5 years later, I think, when they came to me and said, "You know what? We don't have any more. We're not. Nobody else has an and. in their title anymore. We're going to have to let you go. It
Yeah.
wasn't quite that. Actually, while there, I had done in between jobs. I would just build something. Made some animal costumes. I did an elephant that ended up in The Incredible Shrinking Woman. If you ever watch that, when she rolls into a closet on a giant skateboard because she's little. And in the closet, there's this elephant with maracas, I think it is. So it's one of those week, week, week kind of dolls. And there were a few other items in inner space. There's an alligator running around when they inject Dennis Quaid
Yes.
with Martin Short's.
Yeah.
Yeah, spaceship. That's right. Anyway, but eventually they let me go, and I went looking for some more work. Kelly Kimball had already left, but then she was at Disney. She contacted me and had me build a costume for this young up and comer guy, director fresh out of art school, Tim Burton.
Oh.
He was trying to do a movie about sort of haunted house kind of stuff. And he was thinking live action. I built this. It was a donkey getting the pins stuck in it,
Yeah,
like you
yeah.
would have at a Halloween party, but
Oh, pin the tail on
taken.
the donkey.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
That sort of take those thick things and add reality to them. Well, anyway, turned out I think he didn't like the way the costume worked. He wanted more out of it, and he ended up years later doing Nightmare Before Christmas, stop motion. I think that was more where he was aiming anyway. He'd done Frankenweenie, I think, or something like
Yeah.
that at school,
And
a
Vincent,
version of it. Oh, that's what it was.
Vincent
Yeah.
and then Frankenweenie. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
Well, you,
Anywho, so
and you
so it
got
was
the
right after
yeah.
that, I went to Croft, Sid and Marty Croft. Somebody said they were hiring because Erlene Mandrell, Barbara Mandrell's sister, had been told she could be a star if she goes on the road. And so if you remember the Barbara Mandrell show, they had a bunch of puppets, a puppet band. I forget what they call themselves, but there was a dog and a anyway, we remade those for Erlene to go on the road with. And while there, I met Mark Siegel, who had they had another project, Broadway Babies. They wanted to do a puppets on Broadway kind of a thing. And so he was sculpting the heads for the puppets in clay. It was going to get cast up in foam latex. We were fabricating our puppets more in the Henson manner. And so Mark and I got to be good friends. And so when he got the job to sculpt the still suits for Dune, he said, I think there's a better way. I think they should be fabricated so that, they don't. There were a bunch of reasons, but a uniqueness about them, as well as a lightweight, hollowness, that kind of stuff. And so we ended up fabricating them. And one of the people that we hired to help build all these 300 still suits was Linda Frobos. She actually, great brain, she's a sculptor who ended up sculpting Stay Puft's head, hat, let's see, Terror Dog. She was on that with Mike Hosh. But she did Stay Puft's faces. You saw several different versions. It's even the goo. Remember the gooey one? Did you ever see
When he gets
pictures of that one?
Yeah.
Well, there was one that was sculpted like that. It wasn't used actually, but the one that they used for that melt face was an face.
Yeah.
And did you ever see how they did that one?
No.
Buddy figured out this great system. They had a plaster mold of the final, how they wanted it to look. And then they stretched the rubber. What was it that they made of it? I'm trying to remember if they did a gelatin head or if it was just the foam and they just blasted the shit. Oh no, it was they vacuum formed it. So
Okay.
I believe it was a thin vacuum form, and then they had the big cannon of fire, that they warm up the stages with sometimes, and they set that straight down on it, and so that it would melt into the other one. It was pretty cool, and then it was as if it were sideways. I love that kind of sideways to down kind of effect.
Yeah.
It's cool seeing it done. We did one of those at Steve Johnson's for Phantoms. I don't know if you remember in Phantoms when Liev Schreiber, his head gets blown off and then this weird thing comes out. I should have put more slime on it though. Anyway,
go with more slime.
Well, the tricky
bomb,
Yeah. It was. Thank you, Ben. But because the camera was directly below, and it was just the gravity. We filled it's plastic bag stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar with my plastic bag work. I know I'm jumping around in my career here.
It's good. I love it. I love it. Plastic bag work popped into my head like 2 seconds ago because when you were talking about that, the John Carpenter's The Thing, the title sequence. I remember learning that was a plastic bag, like when it burns away.
Oh, was it?
Letters.
Okay. When it burns away.
They blew it like blowtorched it or something like that. So simple, but it looks great.
Well, remember Men in Black, Grouchy? That one's all plastic bags. I'm inside of that. Mom said don't put a plastic bag over your head, but I disobeyed her and made some money.
Friends of my Auntie M. Yeah, she had a plastic bag over her head at one point. But yeah.
That one, I figured out how to do all these little inflated mechanisms so that it looks flowy. Did you ever see there was a version for Phantoms, but it was never used, but it was this growing, flowing sort of, I'm not sure inflate is the right word because it's water, but anyway, maybe it is. Newflate? No, no, that would hydro. Anyway, imagine you've got the baggy shape is all inside itself, and then as you fill it with water, it grows
up
until you get to the end. You get these. Then you cut to the one that's got the little wah heads on them, and those were puppeteered by clear rods from above, and we're just pulling a string, and it's making the thing go in, and so it looks like a mouth. Kind of cool stuff. You'll have to research that.
Yeah.
Or I could.
You can send. Oh yeah.
I could send.
The puppeteering stuff is always like crazy. I know that you were part of Child's Play, a puppeteering the Chucky doll, and I've seen pictures of that. Right. It's like 30 people with wires just to make it. Like, man, that's so complicated.
It was 16 at a time. Yeah. And I got lucky that one of them had to go away for a while, and so they brought me in to fill in because Mark Tyler was who we hired for Dune and for Stay Puft. So then this was one of the next jobs along the way, and he said, "Hey, bring Bill in." So that was nice. Yeah. Anyway, there were working squints and eyebrows, and then there was one moment when a key had to go into a keyhole, and we got it on the first take. I felt good about that, when he unlocks the door. All right, moving on.
When you have all those people, is there like is that all you guys shoot that day? Is that one scene? Is it like how much rehearsal goes into something like that?
You have to rehearse, but you got to be easy on the puppet too.
True.
You got to save it for camera. Yeah. So it can only do so much, so many times. We had it would take a day to get Well, when you have to do several takes, it's more operator error. I mean, there was Alec had this moment, at the very end when Chucky's in the fireplace, and I thought you said we were friends to the end,
Yeah.
and throws in the match and says, "This is the end, friend." Wait a second. Wait a second. Wait a second. Let's do it again. This is the end, friend. Okay, now Alex, I'm going to want you to do it with a little. it was a fun moment. Here he was, a little. What was he, 7?
Yeah.
Something like that. And he had studied and gotten it right. Mom said, "Yeah, that's it." And then comes on set and it's like, "Why? I'm doing it the way we practiced." Anyway,
You
but
were
that
also
can take a few takes.
you also worked on Curse of Chucky as well, right?
I did, yes.
Now,
That was
in the in the period of time between those two films, does it change much from like all like the 16 people doing it to like is it just one person with a remote control now, or how's that?
it had winnowed some. And then you don't need all 16 at the, well, sometimes you do actually. It depends on how much of it you're working. But one of the jobs that I was there to do at Altarian, Tony Gardner had taken over Chucky a few movies in. What's his name? Those are the ones that go. Um, so I was brought in, for instance, the neck mechanism. It it had always been this complicated, but several stacked mechanisms. The this one, the that one, the this one, the I don't know, and those are all going on. They're on a controller, and you're turning and twisting and trying to, and maybe you got two people, one guy doing this and one guy doing this, or whatever. Somehow you've worked. It's probably a joystick-like thing, which gets matched. Okay, but it's still going through feet of cable, and there's all friction is happening all the way, and eventually you're going to run into a problem. And if it's easier to put a hand inside and go like this or that, so I devised a little spring that you could fit through, so it would hold it up when you're not in there, but you can go in there and muppetize Chucky's head, and so that was basically. I mean, also, there's the Bunraku rig. Are you familiar with the idea where the performer has like a direct connection here? Performer. Uh, remember when Charlie Chaplin danced with the potato or the buns? It's sort of like that. You put your feet on the end of the sticks, and you put the puppet's feet on the other end, or one way or another, you make the puppet walk. And if you can stand behind it, holding it up while taking delicate little steps, and the puppet is taking those steps, well, that saves. Uh, it's inspired by Japanese puppetry, and hence it's called bunraku, even though that means a whole lot more than just that in Japan.
Yeah.
But here, that's usually what's indicated by that phrase. So you got your controllers on the hands, and your feet are to the feet. Anyway, so you're puppeteering with your body, essentially, if you understand.
Oh yeah.
Blah
And
blah.
then you gotta hide it. See the different when we talk about CGI, the good thing about CGI now is that you can go hide things where like you would have to block it out to make sure everything was like all the wires were hidden back in the day.
Either even actually, Stay Puft, there was blue screen. We weren't using green at the time for whatever reason. Actually, I think it was invented over at NBC, and there was one of the executives there was he was an executive because he said, "How about blue?"
Is there really
At
any
least that
color?
any advantage?
Yeah, is
Well,
there
it
really
depends.
any difference? Or,
It
you know what I mean?
depends on what's in the shot.
Hmm.
You know, if you're green screening with a green puppet, you're not going to see the puppet.
True. Yeah, true fact.
But I mean, fortunately, I guess the bib Stay Puft was dark enough that the blue screen and I mean, it was right between the black and the blue screen, so it worked.
Yeah.
And actually, I mean, if you've got a black screen, which we did for some of it, because it wasn't CG, it was actual sandwich plates of film. Okay, and so you got Stay Puft on one piece of film, and you got the building and some action on the back piece of film, and on the front they shot another little piece with more people running, so that you could have the depth of field there. And so you know, nowadays using the CG, you know, you can stack them as much as you want and remove and mask, and I've done some of that stuff in Final Cut. Actually, Avid, are you familiar with Avid?
Yeah.
Did you ever? My mom worked, she was like this employee number 7 or something. She was the mom for Avid.
Yeah.
Well, originally it was another computer company, but they transformed into Avid when they started focusing more on that. Anywho, Sun Computers and one of them comp things. Anyway, so here, sorry,
Hey,
I got a pillow under me.
best way to do it. I got a pillow under me too. Alex is a pillow. That's how it goes. A lovable pillow, very lovable pillow, though. Yes.
There you go. All right, ask another
I'll
question. I don't know.
I know you were
What'd you
part
say?
of. You know, I know you were part. Wait, Alex, did you have something to say?
Oh, I was just joking about me being the next Stay Puft because I already got the
I see.
Marshmellow body.
Actually, tomorrow in Bixby Knolls, California, which is part of Long Beach, there's a wine bar called Wilmore Wine Bar, and in that wine bar are a bunch of my paintings. They're sort of wine and wine adjacent paintings. That was the précis offered, and so that's what I painted. And but I'm going to have Bill Bryan Day tomorrow. I'm going to go there and have some friends over and play some silly songs. And among them, one of the songs. I mean, I've been kind of Weird Alling some tunes, including Piano Man. All right. So there's this moment. Wait a second. It's here. Wait here. I'll get the right key even. It's a pretty good crowd for a Saturday con. The promoter, he gives me a smile, 'cause he knows that it's me that they're coming to see and show off their Stay Puft body style. La da da da. And it goes on.
I like it. I like it. I love it.
So you reminded me of that.
There you go. Very nice. I know you also worked on the Army of Darkness film.
Oh, yes, that's right. I
Fantastic.
was Pit Bitch.
Pit Bitch.
Yeah.
The
Right.
battling off with Ash Williams himself. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It was an exciting moment. I'm knee deep in brackish water in a little studio in Hollywood, and stapled into the wall for an hour while they light me afterwards.
With that,
Yeah.
the set with all that brackish water and being in like that dungeony hole, it's like you often hear stories
Yeah.
with Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell. Sam Raimi is always trying to, like, rough Bruce Campbell up a little bit. I assume that would be a scene that
Exactly.
he would be dragging him through the mud literally on. You know what I mean?
It was Sam really likes roughing up his heroes. He did the same to Tobey Maguire. He would pelt Toby with debris, as he called it. There's an explosion. Wait a second. We got to hit Toby with some more stuff.
Yeah. Sam
Yeah.
seems like so much fun, dude, because you always see him and he's so happy to be there. I know respect for the set. He wears the suit out of respect for the
Yeah,
crew. And how is Sam to kind of work with on set?
he's a good guy.
Yeah.
He's good. Yeah, he. Let me think how to explain. I first met him. I was at K&B. I was just cutting out background skeleton pieces and sticking them onto unitards.
Yeah.
Out of foam. But then they brought me the body for the pit bitch. They brought me the head and hands and said put a body in between, and so I did. It was just weird saggy tits and stuff. And then they were having a meeting, and apparently because Brent Armstrong, may he rest in peace, had sculpted two different possible pit witches. One, which was your Meg Mucklebone old lady looking kind of thing. And then there was this, the boogity pit bitch that ended up being that one. And Sam wasn't sure if that one was going to work because it was so over the top that he was afraid he was going to get a laugh instead of a scare there. And, you time him out.
Right.
And he wanted a scare there. And so, anyway, so it was one or the other. He came for a meeting and they're talking in the the conference room. And they asked me to put on the suit so that he could see it. And I'm standing around waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And I got this idea, drag that piece of plywood over here. I'm just going to stand on it when he comes in, like I'm a mannequin. And when he got close enough, I gotched him. And he said, "Oh, all right. Okay. It's in the movie and I want him in it." And so that's the audition process.
Fuck yeah.
And so we were on set, and I'm stapled into this wall. And he knew by then that I'd done Stay Puft before, and so it's all lit, it's all ready. They got the camera going, and he says, "Come out, Monster Bill." So that was my direction. Like, obviously, you know what to do. It says, "Okay, I guess I'll do boogity. And bam, the rest is history.
Glory.
I went back to Syracuse a few years later with the wife and kids, and we wanted to show off where we met at the old red house on 747 Comstock. I think it's been painted back to white now, but it was our fraternity, and I was in the basement. And, so I wanted the kids to see where it was. And we get to the front door, they open, I start to explain that, I was Marshmellow Man after being in, "Oh, come on in." But they were kind of, "Yeah, that's cool." And we go in and up the stairs, and we go into one of the rooms, and on the back of the door, he shut the door. There's the Army of Darkness poster. I said, "Oh, and I was in that." And they literally did Wayne and Garth. "We are not worthy. We are not worthy."
Yeah.
So you just never know what's going to catch somebody's interest.
For sure. Well, since you bring that up, I got over here. I got to grab it now.
He's going into the depths.
I actually have your action figure. This was an exclusive, a Sam Goody. Whoa!
We both like that.
Huh? Yeah.
Yes. Oh, very good. Yeah. Wait. Hold it up again. Let me take a peek again. It's that's a good one. It's the larger one, right?
Yeah.
I think that there were two different sizes.
Yeah.
You want to know where I found one?
Where?
I found one in Salem at the toy store around the corner from the witch house.
Really?
Get it?
Yeah, dude.
Nice.
I'm blown away. Stay Puft made a cameo. My mind got boggled for a second. Yeah.
Oh, he was in the bathroom for the whole time, but he just came out for a minute.
He's got a big bladder.
Very, very.
Well, you brought up Spider-Man 2. I don't think people give Sam enough credit for recreating superhero movies when he made those Spider-Man movies, because up until
Yeah,
that point, it was just kind of the standard Richard Donner Superman style, standard frames. And
yeah.
then when he brought
Dun,
his
dun,
style,
dun.
yeah, he brought his style because the crazy camera work and stuff, and then everybody
All
kind of
right.
duplicated that after. If you think about it, you know.
Uh-huh.
No,
I see what you mean. He's
Sam's,
a hell
yeah,
of a director.
I love him. One of the greatest living directors, you know what I mean, for sure. I love him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We were work. Now this is an embarrassing-ish moment, and it's just a tiny little aside. Do you remember? Did you comic books?
A
Were
little
you
bit.
into Nick
Oh
Fury
yeah.
and the Howling Commandos? Remember Sergeant Fury and the Howling
Yeah.
Commandos?
Yeah.
It's Nick Fury eventually became the head of Shield, but in World War II, that's where he was, and he had this group of different folks, and one of them, he was, I think he was British. He, the bowler hat and the umbrella, and he used the term bumbershoot, and he would use his umbrella thing to he'd stab and various things with it. And so I thought this is a standard Britishism, and I'm working with Alfred Molina, and we're hooking him in, and he was talking about how Sam had he'd come out today with a cane. He's thinking of, is this good shtick for me? What do you think, guys? Is this going to work? Am I going to be the guy with the cane in the suit, or anyway? And so when Alfred walked in, he had an umbrella with him, uh, and he was kind of doing Sam with the umbrella, pretending. What do you think? Would this be a good thing? Should I carry this? And I said, you could be the bumbershootist. I mean, that's a pretty good joke, right?
Yeah.
Except that apparently, I finally looked it up recently, and it's an Americanism just made up. Umbrella, bumber, and then I don't know, and I get parachute, I suppose, is how that would.
Yeah.
Anyway, he
You got,
didn't know what I was talking about.
you, you got to work with Alfred again in Species as well, which was cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. And
Yeah.
and actually, first in Species, and then for quite a while with him on Spidey too. But then a few years later, I'd started the beard, and so I knew I would look very different. I couldn't expect him to recognize me. But it was on. We went to New York for Sorcerer's Apprentice. We'd done some weird glooby stuff that needed to be shot to be combined into a CG appearance of the witch or something. And I come in, and there's Alfred saying, "Hi, Alfred." He's, "Bill, how are you?" And it was like, holy shit, the guy actually
Yeah.
remembers. He's a hell of a guy. And then we went, actually, I've got this great picture from in November. We went to see Alfred in Inherit the Wind at the Pasadena Playhouse here. And we hung around, and he came out backstage or afterwards, and came over. He gave me this hug. It was like, oh my God, he's a real guy.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
It was awesome.
I've always loved Alfred, man. Him and what is it? Boogie Nights is like incredible, dude.
Oh
You know
yeah.
what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So true.
Yeah, dude. Well, speaking
Yeah.
of superhero movies, you were going to work on the death of Superman, right? But
I was.
it never quite
Well,
came about. Yeah.
yeah. Steve Johnson had that job. He was supposed to. There was this suit that he had contracted to make, and it was right around Christmas time, and I needed some work, to be honest.
Yeah.
And so I said, "Hey, you mind if I go help him sculpt on this thing?" And I go over and I start, and I'm looking at it. It's not going to work. It's got hard plastic in all the main movement places,
Yeah.
and then kind of some juicy silicone in between, as if that's going to make up the difference and move and actually move. Well, I look at it and I think, I don't think it's going to work, and you're going to get embarrassed. And while I'm working here, and Steve tends to kind of give me a free rein sometimes, like he did with the plastic bags. But so I got a bunch of extra vacuform pieces of all those parts, and I cut them up into armor, sort of, overlapping, and strung them all together to try to make a solid suit that would still move everywhere.
Yeah.
And so Colleen Atwood, we showed her parts of that, and she liked it. She wanted a lot of changes on it, but we ended up using that to sort of satisfy the contractual obligation.
Yeah.
But we put lasers inside. Lenny came up with Lenny McDonald figured out how to get all these lasers coming through fiber optics underneath the clear plastic suit. It was amazing, and it was going to be cool. It was supposed to be the regeneration suit after Superman has died, but the things around him and it kind of supports him.
Yeah.
Kind of like Boba Fett's Bacta tank, you know?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
Did you watch that one?
When he Boba Fett?
Boba Fett? Yeah, the book of Boba Fett.
I didn't catch the book of Boba Fett, no.
Yeah, no.
Okay, well, you can still go back and take a peek.
I
You don't
will,
have to
yeah.
watch the whole thing. It's kind of boring, but at the very beginning, he's in this tank where he's healing. You know, spends a lot of time in there because of various things he's been through, including when he got dropped into the Sarlacc pit. You remember?
Yeah.
And so we built the belly of the Sarlacc for Boba Fett, so he could have a place to come out of. Because you remember, it was always a mystery. Wait a second, he fell in there. He's dead, right? Wait, he's over there. How'd he get there? And so they kind of answered that, and I helped them. My son and I built the belly of the Sarlacc.
Toby?
Anywho, no, this is my another of my sons.
Hell yeah.
Tyler's an actor as well. He's you can see him in 1923, the last episode, unless they re-up for another season.
Yeah.
But it's been a
little bit.
a strike ago.
Yeah.
We'll see. But anyway, yeah, he's a mean racist cop who comes in and beats up a lady and her husband. So that's exciting. That's my boy, I keep saying.
Yeah,
He's done some other stuff.
I love it, dude. I remember I watched the documentary about the death of Superman when it came out. I forget exactly why. It felt like it was printing money. Like there were so many people. It would have been Tim. Dude, I lost my mind for a second. Tim Burton. Tim Burton was going to direct. Kevin Smith wrote it. Nicolas Cage was going to star in it. It seemed like everything was just working. And then was it just like an issue between the director and producers or something like that brought it down?
I think there was some concept stuff in there. Yeah. And I think that, I think Nicolas Cage wanted, you remember, what was it, Batman Beyond, where he was an old man, right? Yeah. The cartoon.
Yeah.
I think he kind of wanted to be that Superman, the fat, long-haired Superman, or I don't know. I'm surmising instead of researching, just so you know.
I know Cage is a huge fan of Superman, and like it's weird because you had Kevin Smith probably at the peak of his writing. Kevin Smith's kind of like the '90s version of John Hughes. I feel when it comes to like writing, you know what I mean. And Tim Burton, I think I forget what he did. It was a little ways after his Batman, but I think it was maybe a few years. There might have been some movies in between, but like it's that whole style. I think that stop motion style just became, everybody just thought everything was Tim Burton that did stop.
Yeah, right. Henry. Well, I mean, he was certainly involved.
Yeah, it's a testament to his talent that he would, for bringing it out like that and becoming the guy kind of. What were you gonna say, Alex?
With Nightmare on Elm Street, I saw a Nightmare Before Christmas. I'm sorry,
that'd be a whole different movie.
Yeah.
Well, Nightmare Before Christmas, I saw a documentary. Now, I'm kicking myself. I can't think of the actual director's name, but
Henry Selick. Oh. Henry Selick?
Yeah.
Could be.
He did James and the Giant Peach too, I think.
Yeah. The thing was that honestly, Tim Burton didn't really do anything with Nightmare Before Christmas. He had the concept, he had the idea, but they wanted him to do, I believe, Batman Returns at that moment. So contractually obligated to that, but he also was, kind of stuck with he was also trying to do Nightmare Before Christmas. So what he ended up doing was he went to focus on Batman Returns, and then he had this other guy directed. Danny Elfman did the music, and they
Yeah.
really created, and it was in the style of Tim Burton. But in the end, because what sells this film, what's going to sell is the Tim Burton name.
Yeah.
So it's like
Yeah.
it's a Tim Burton movie, even though
But
honestly,
they were his drawings, weren't they?
Yeah,
yeah,
Aren't they
they
his
were.
drawings?
Yeah, they were
Jack
his
Skeleton
drawings,
was definitely
but
his creation. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it
So
was his from his mind, his creation, but he actually had very little hands-on work on the actual film, from what
yeah,
I
yeah,
read.
Well, so he got to present. It was Tim Burton presents and
Yeah, it was Tim
executive
Burton.
producing
yeah.
it.
There you go. There you
Yeah,
go.
it's kind of like when they did Hostel a few years back, and Hostel 2, and Tarantino produced it, and Quentin Tarantino's name was bigger than Eli Roth's name on it. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Yeah. Yeah.
but I wanted to ask you. I also noticed that you were part of Bicentennial Man as a
Oh yeah.
fabrication department and a puppeteer, and we're huge Robin Williams fans. Love that movie, and I just want to ask you about that. How it was? I'm assuming you worked with the costume that he wore, or
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of interesting that when I was at NBC way back in '79, I think it was, that George Schlatter tried to redo Laugh-In. And he hired a bunch of unknown comedians. A friend of mine had gotten a caricature done by Sergio Oreganis, and I wanted to meet him. And so I went down to wardrobe, but he wasn't there. So I sat in to watch whatever it was they were shooting. And this young unknown comic comes out, and he's in a towel. Good looking young guy in a towel around his waist, and he's in a locker room set. He says, "Men, you're men, I'm a man. We're all men here. And sometimes, you just don't have enough time to get dressed all the way, or whatever it was. It's that kind of idea. And so what I recommend is spray socks. And he puts his foot up and he sprays his foot. Well, the first time, nothing came out of the can. It was they had not shaken the can. And so they said, "Hold it, wait a second, take two, shake the can." Okay, gets it. Okay, here we go. The second time he did it, it was entirely different and 10 times as funny. And I realized that this guy was going to be the next guy. So, cut to, well, actually, I saw him again a year later in Topanga for the Topanga Days Parade. By then, Mork and Mindy was out, and he was the master of ceremony or whatever it was, the grand marshal of the parade. That's what it was. And so we're in the back playing When the Saints Come Marching In on French horn and tuba and trumpet, and he's up front waving a baton. And so we get together and yammer, and I've got a couple of pictures from that day. That was '79. Then cut forward to the end of '99, maybe it's 98. Anyway, right in there, um, Steve Johnson's Edge Effects has moved to a big new building, and a lot of the time has been spent just dressing up the building because a lot of work isn't coming in. And all of a sudden, this show comes in. Steve gets offered it because he had been involved in this armor-like plastic suit for Superman Lives. Uh, so he had demonstrated that he could build a suit that a hard suit that covers your whole body. It's not quite what they wanted, but the idea that it had been demonstrated, it's in the portfolio. He got the offer, so we got a month to make an arm, and I made an arm, and I the ball on the inside of the joint there.
Yeah. Yeah.
if you look at it, I mean, it looks like an action figure, you know. And so I thought that would be cool to have that showing as it's part of the mechanism. And so I figured out how to make it out of little leaves and elastic underneath, and so that you wouldn't hurt yourself with it. But anyway, so we got the gig, and I helped design various parts before then building a bunch of the parts. Made some mistakes on the feet, I'll have to admit, which came back to bite me personally, because next I went up to San Francisco to dress Robin and double him in the suit. And so I was wearing the suit. I mean, there's a couple of shots. There's one where where Andrew Martin and Sir are coming down from the, is it coming down or going up? Anyway, they're in front of the Northam Robotics building, and they're down on the sidewalk, and they're talking. So it's the big shiny Oracle building south of San Francisco, really. And Sir says to Andrew Martin, "But you are unique." And this identical robot walks by, and that's me, and walks by and walks by and goes and goes. And one of the legs was digging into my leg, into my knee as I'm walking. The hinges dig, dig, dig with each step, but I have to walk like a solid robot rather than a cripple, which is what it was starting to feel like. Anyway, but there was that, and there was also when later on in the show he's gone to try to find another alive robot like himself, of the same what do they call it, the serial anyway, series, I guess. Anyway, so the same dye bath. No, that's not. So he goes to a baseball field, and originally it was supposed to be a pitcher, and I got a whole suit made for me. I was the same size as Robin, by coincidence. The same height, same bone lengths. He had more meat on his thighs because he was a mountain biker, and a little more meat in his belly because he was a successful comedian. But other than that, we fit. And so we built the suits on me. And so we built another suit for me in a different color. And that was going to be the pitcher. And I tried pitching. I could get it over the plate consistently once I realized I had to aim there for it to end up over there, which seems backwards, but it just how it caught in the suit, how the shoulder, how the arm fit into the torso. It just, as I come over, it brought me around. And so, bam, I could get it across the plate, but they realized that they wanted, a robot should be able to fire a fastball.
Yeah.
Not that they couldn't speed it up a little, but anyway, they decided not to. And so instead, I ended up being I'm lining the field. I've got the roller, and I'm out there, pushing it around, and the robot comes on. I tell him, "Stay off the field," and that was it. That was my big moment. Although I did get a line in the movie. It was exciting. We're dressing Robin every day in the suit. And it was earlier in that scene where he's at Northam Robotics, and he's talking to Stephen Root, the husband, the president of Northam Robotics. Okay. And so Sir has just told Prez that that his robot is doing weird things. And he said, "Well, bring him in. We'll give you a new one." He said, "No. I like what he's showing artistic sensibilities." And well, then we'll definitely have it destroyed. "No, I don't want that." But what if he runs amok is the cue. Yeah. And Robin was trying some things, some lines, he was going on run, something about I'm not fast to run, but whatever it was, it wasn't working. and he's, that's not it. That's not it. We'd gone off, and I'm putting his chin on, you know, and I lean in, and while I'm doing it, I said, "One is not trained to run muck, sir." He said, "Wait a minute. Yeah, that's good." So he adjusted. One is not programmed to run muck, sir. So it was his. So, but I got the concept, and you know, it was one of those desperate. How are we gonna make this work?
Yeah.
Which kind of, it was better than the other moment when I'm putting on the jaw, and I dropped the screw into the jaw, so I had to take this one off, take the screw out, and put it back on again, and then it happened again. And he looks up at me and says, "You're not very good at this, are you, Bill?" Ow.
Rest in peace, Robin, man.
Yeah, he was a great guy.
Always there.
One day,
yeah.
one day, okay. As I don't know if you remember the movie, he's advancing, he's being upgraded. And so at one point, he goes from the clunky robot shoes to they're Italian leather boots, and they're fitting inside. So they fit closer to his foot. Nice, generic looking, but the boots were not quite high enough to keep them from popping out of the leg. If he leaned, like, I guess if you would lean back, then it would pop out, and then it shows, and the shot is ruined. No matter what he's done, the suit fucked up. Okay,
Yeah.
and so it was my job to make sure that wouldn't happen. And I thought I had it. I tightened some things down so that it would hug it closer. Eventually, we just wrapped duct tape around the top of the boot so it wouldn't pop out. But we didn't think of that until 2 or 3 shots had been blown, and Robin turns to me. And I'm down there trying to work on this boot, and he looks down, and the robot. It happened. I guess it got these eyebrows that could reflect his emotions.
Yeah.
So he looks down at me. He says, "Fix the shoes." And I thought, oh, geez. Yeah, okay. Anyway, so that I did. I mean, we figured out what to do. A couple months later, we finished shooting. Everything's over. But Talk Magazine, now defunct, I think, but they wanted to shoot a pictorial of Robin and the robot, and so he couldn't be in the robot at the same time. So I was in it, and so we got some shots where I'm holding him up in the air. He jumps, and I'm holding him, and things like that, face to face. Anyway, at one point, the eyebrows got stuck, kind of frowny, and he looked at it and said, "Boy, that thing can be a little scary, can it?" I said, "Fix the shoes." And he went, "Oh, did I do that to you? I'm so sorry." I said, "Hey, no, man, I'm sorry. It was a joke. What can I do?" It was, these moments that you share with people. Uh, and, you see the real character come through afterwards. "Sorry, I got a little squirrely in the suit," he would say sometimes. He's just a little. I mean, he was in that suit for 40 days and 40 nights. Well, not all the nights, but we shot a lot of hours, and there were 40 days. I did 25 of them, but that didn't come close to his 40.
Yeah.
But mine were like the feet from behind. If they're standing in line, then I'm just got the legs on. Or let's see. Oh yeah, drawing. When he was designing his house, I think something like that. I was doing the drawing, and then actually there was the spider. Remember the spider that he collects and then releases outside? Well, he was afraid it was going to crawl inside, and he's freaked of spiders. So I said, "Hey, yeah, sure, I'll do that, no problem." So then we're sitting there on stage, and I was talking to his assistant about some other jobs I'd done, including carving on hook and carving on toys, carving the foam that became Captain Hook's ship and the Peter Pan statue. And anyway, there were various bits and pieces. I was talking about that, and she said, "Wait, you carve?" She runs away. That was strange. Robin comes running back. He said, "Bill, you carve?" "Yeah." "Can you carve? Can you do the carving scene?" "I'm afraid I'm going to cut my thumb off." I said, "Oh yeah, no problem." So I got my own little scene where, I'm there. The little miss hands me the tool, and I bat. I had to raise a curl on one of the clocks, just get the wood to do something interesting on camera, and so I felt that was cool. And then it happened again when he's supposed to cut his thumb off of the bandsaw, and he was afraid he would cut his thumb off. Well, of course, what you do is you hold it here. You got the whole thumb there, and you just cut the thumb off. And yeah, that worked okay too. Unfortunately,
you learn the hard way sometimes.
Unfortunately, it doesn't work.
Yeah, we had to do it twice.
And 4 times, pull out the feet. Yeah.
Oh, I can only count up to 8.
That's all right.
Exactly. Anywho, anything else? What else was there?
Well, we got plenty more to talk. I know we don't want to keep you all day.
Oh, hey, you know what? I'm not doing anything. I'm sitting here in Long Beach. It's beautiful. Did I show you what it's like down here?
Yeah.
I mean, look, the rain went away, and now
oh, very nice.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm in heaven.
I know.
So what else you got?
I know you worked on Beastmaster, which I love Beastmaster from back in childhood days. Yeah, what was that like?
Yeah,
yeah.
That was one of the early jobs tucked in between NBC and Dune. Yeah, I was living in Topanga, doing stuff in the garage, and out on the porch. Let's see. I'm trying to think of the parts that I did for Beastmaster. I cast up the gate guard helmets. They were they came down like this, and so I sculpted those, and then Bill Munns molded them, and then learning to work with urethane, I laid them up. Anyway, so there was that. Then there was remember the little dangling skull thing that they would hang themselves on if they were ashamed of themselves, So I carved. I actually used my metalsmithing skills to make that dome, and then sawed out the thing. So I made one in copper, and then I molded it in silicone and cast them up in urethane. And so they were flimsy, so they broke a lot. So I had to make a whole bunch of those little guys for them to hang themselves with. They could glue them to the ceiling for the shot, but it was the hurling or whatever was the kind of, and sometimes, you lean on bad and off it comes. So you got to be careful.
That
also, there was one more item. There was remember when the eagle flies down, or was it a crow, and picks up the girl and flies away with her?
Yeah.
I made this little, it was 1/2-inch thick foam, just a version of the girl, just really lightweight. And I made one of those for them to use, and they set aside for shoot day, put it in a black plastic bag, actually taped it to the ceiling of the prop trailer. Prop trailer heated up in the sunlight, the tape loosened up, the bag fell to the floor, and it was thrown away. So they came back to me and said, uh-oh, we need another one. I said, well, this one's going to cost a little more. He said, why? Well, 2 reasons. I didn't charge enough, and I've got you over a barrel. I mean, let's be honest here. And so, yeah, it worked out.
That movie's, I
And
love that movie. It's so it's got such a creepy vibe to it. Like it's like an action adventure, almost kids movie in a way. But some of like the witches, those birds that eat the people,
yes,
like you were
yes.
saying, the people with the mask, they were so hard. They were like Mad Max, like Road Warrior style things. You know what I mean? Super creepy. I know Don Coscarelli comes from horror background with the Phantasm films and stuff. But
I just remembered something.
yeah,
Weren't some of the witches, didn't they have like stitched together skin,
yeah,
lizard skin faces or something? I
yeah.
made those too. I
Hell
forgot
yeah.
about that.
Yeah, dude.
Oh my gosh. Actually sewing them up. Anyway, yeah, I'd forgotten about
Did,
that.
did, did you
It was
have
a
any
big, pay,
did you have any
I don't know,
interaction
paid for a bunch of
with the paper?
Pampers.
Yeah. Did you get a chance to have any interaction with a Rip Torn? Because he was like a madman. He was crazy in that movie. The villain, he played the main
I'm
villain. Like the
Yeah, no, I know who you mean. I'm
yeah.
trying to remember. See, I actually also, while at NBC, I had the first movie I ever knowingly made costumes for was The First Family with Bob Newhart as the president,
Hmm.
Madeline Kahn as his wife, Gilda Radner as his nymphomaniac daughter,
Yeah.
or um, and um, and his, I mean, Buck Henry wrote and directed it, and he did Get Smart, you remember, and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember. Fred Willard was on his cabinet, and they had a scene where they're, let's see, they're having a party. It's a costume ball where everybody is a holiday. So Bob Newhart is George Washington for July 4th, and then various others. But Fred Willard was Columbus Day, and so I made him a little a ship that he could wear and sit down in because it collapsed, kind of like Venetian blinds, you know,
Yeah.
kind of situation. Anyway, so then there was a Christmas tree, and I forget who that was. But then Rip Torn was a Halloween pumpkin with medals on his chest, and Bob Gishy was the vice president. He was Easter. I remember because there's some. So the rabbit's head, kind of a cute bunny head up on top of his face hole. Okay, and so there's this moment when he puts his face in his hands because he's distraught about because they're called into a conference room to discuss some terrible thing that's going on. And so, what are we doing? And the rabbit just sits there, kind of like that. Anyway, moments, but of course the film went nowhere. And so I think probably because the punchline basically what it was, why is it this African nation can create such amazing uh, produce? And because they use their shit. And
Yeah.
it kind of it's a down moment instead of an up.
Right.
Shit, get it? Yeah, it didn't play very well to the American.
Yeah.
He's, come on, you could have done better, whatever it was. But I forget. Oh, Rip Torn. It was my first introduction to Rip Torn. And this scar right here. Can you see this scar right here? It was while I was standing inside of his uh, pumpkin costume and using barge, and the stuff is wafting, and I go to cut a piece of foam inside, and instead I cut me. And that one, there's not that many scars that stick around that you can name specifically to the moment, to the show,
Yeah.
I could probably find the date, but anyway.
Yeah. Another film you did that never got the love that I think it should get is Full Eclipse, the werewolf cop movie.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
a,
yeah.
I'm a big fan. The Mario Van Peebles, I think, directed it. A very fun movie, and like I love the idea of it. How like these super cops inject themselves with like werewolf, whatever you will, and become like super cops to kill bad guys. I always love that idea. Yeah.
Yep.
The Village. You worked on The Village with M. Night Shyamalan.
That's right. Did
How
that
that
cape, that horny cape that he
yeah.
runs away in?
We've never
How'd
had
it go?
we've never had anybody on the show that's worked with M. Night. I don't,
Oh,
what was that like?
well,
Yeah,
you know, I'm in the workroom. At that
yeah,
point, it was like, okay, how about here's some pictures. Can we make that? And so we did, and that was as far as it went for us. I mean, it was a cool image.
yeah.
That crazy bony sticky cape, and what's it made of? And we bought a bunch of materials. We thought the cape was going to be made out of red leather at first. It turned out to be red wool, and a bunch of them were just a yellow stuff. And so, but we bought a lot of this red leather, and you can't return it. So
Yeah.
I ended up with it. I built a
Oh
suit.
yeah,
you
yeah,
know, actually, yes, Steve was moving from one shop to another, and it was like, chuck it all, throw it all out. I said, well, I'm throwing that one over here. A
yeah.
couple of bolts of red leather. It was nice. Anyway,
Now, when you do like the special effects and makeup on a film, do they give you the script or do they bring you in and say, okay, this right here is just what we need? How's that kind of work?
oh, it depends.
Yeah,
Well, on Ghostbusters, I did read the script, and I laughed the whole time. So
yeah,
it was inspiring. It got me knowing that this was going to be
gonna be
cool.
something special.
Um,
Yeah,
right. Usually, we're just assigned the thing, whatever it is, the object, and hopefully they give us enough information that we hit it where they're thinking about it.
yeah.
Um, when Heidi Klum said, "I want to be a worm," for instance, did you see that one?
Which film? Uh,
No, actually, it was Halloween Before Last. Heidi Klum's
okay.
worm costume.
Oh, you were part of that? You made
Yeah,
a
yeah, I built that.
costume? Oh, I like that.
I mean, the shape of
Yeah,
it. Then the details were Mike Marino and company. Anyway, it was. They give you a drawing.
yeah,
Sometimes it's just and actually, like for instance, at K&B, they had somebody drawing so John Bisson had done the sketch of the pit bitch,
yeah,
from which uh, Brent Armstrong had uh, sculpted the face, and then I made the costume to match that. Um, yeah, there's a lot of back and forth on Doc Ock to
mm,
get those tentacles to be mechanical, shiny, and wonderful, and then performable.
yeah,
There's a balance there, and so the balance we found was at 4 feet out,
yeah,
it could go digital. That John Dykstra and his crew would take over, and would make them long. If they're longer than 4 feet, then they're in. If they're short, if they're up close and personal, then we could use ours.
yeah. That,
And then
yeah,
those heads were brilliant assemblies of real mechanical genius, really. Thinking of who all, Larry O'Dean and Mike Elizalde and folks like that working on those. Anyway, yeah, it was good stuff.
whenever I think of Doc Ock, I remember being in the theater watching it, and when they're in the hot like the dot like the emergency room, and I remember when like Doc
Oh
Ock
yeah.
when he grabs the chainsaw and it's like the Evil Dead reference. I remember the audience was like "Wah!" because it was the first time that Sam kind of acknowledged Evil Dead. You know what I mean? Yeah,
Hello, it's
very
me.
cool. That was you.
No, no, that's Sam saying hi. It's
Yeah,
me.
yeah, yeah. Hey, you remember me? Yeah, yeah. Sam's the best. I love Sam.
Now that scene, that operating room scene, we were that's very different from most shows. They gave us that scene and said, take these 3 months and figure out how to perform this.
Hmm.
And so we did puppeteers over at Steve's, and we're coming up, looking at all the various little bits and pieces, trying to come up with interesting ways to make stuff happen. And sometimes, you overthink it, and sometimes sometimes you under. At one time, we showed, we did. There was this one shot where the tentacle lifts the guy up into the light and he electrocutes.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Oh yeah.
So we turned it on its side. We put the guy on a gurney, but you couldn't see it, and so we pushed him sideways into the light. He said, "Oh my God, that's great. How'd you do that?" We told him, "Oh, well, we have to do it for real. we need to hook a guy up and pull him into the light." But that looks great.
That was fun. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, there was some of those great moments. I don't know if you ever saw my buddy Mike Bayes did. I brought him in for those 3 months and then the shoot beyond as well to videotape our rehearsals and cut them together. And so he put together a thing he calls the ockumentary. You can probably find it on YouTube.
Yeah.
And it's got us putting together this stuff, and there's moments when let's see, the tentacle, they light a cigar for Alfred, things like that.
Yeah.
It was fun stuff to work out. Piano, various things.
Also, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3. You know what I mean?
Oh yes, back in time.
Hell yeah, back in
Or
time,
that was different. Yeah, I was sort of buckle and strap guy on that. It was how do we hold these things together? How did they do it before? I don't know. And then we hired somebody who knew. So we were able to. There were a lot of different approaches to pulling them together, but then keeping the guys alive, on set, because you're just encased in sweat.
Yeah.
And sweat producing rubber, and so yeah, there were Eric Allard headed up that show, all effects, and I did audition to be a puppeteer on it, and when they said, well, yes, you could be a puppeteer, but you got to talk to Eric. And I went to Eric and said, hey, they say I can be a puppeteer if I want to. He said, I really need you holding these suits together, man. I said, all right, I'll skip it. And actually, it was funny looking at it afterwards. It has been said that the lip sync is worse than on the previous two that were done by the Hensons. The fact is that the script was changed after it was shot.
Interesting.
So the lip sync could not possibly have matched.
Yeah.
And so it's not really fair to assign that on, to blame us.
That is true. Yeah. How could you go and change the dialogue and then expect it to line up? That's weird.
Right. Well, the problem is the audience doesn't know.
True. That is true. Yeah. There was like a fourth Turtles movie that, my God, nobody could ever complain about the first three after that fourth one. That fourth one was it was tough. That was a tough one. Yeah. It was like the New Mutation. Yeah.
Was it CG?
No, it was like horrible suits. It was like
oh
yeah, I don't. They made it and it disappeared.
It was straight to video.
Yeah, it was called the New Mutation or something. Yeah.
Was it Trauma?
Pretty much. It's like if me and Alex tried to make Ninja Turtles. That's what.
Hey! Yeah, it also had like a fifth turtle that was a female turtle, I think.
Oh, right. They did a TV show, I think, for a little while. The Kyoto brothers did some costumes for that.
Oh.
First, they wanted me to come in and do some parts, but then I didn't.
Kyoto. You were on the Jackass Forever. How'd you find it? You get yourself on the Jackass Forever film? That's kind of a weird, but out of the, you know what I mean? Out of the spectrum of the typical other type of cool,
You might think, but I started working for Tony Gardner at Altarian from time to time when he'd have something for me to do. And so this was actually the most recent one that came up. And it was, hey, you want to do this? Okay, sure. I need some work.
Yeah.
Well, okay, you're going to have to puppeteer this guy's penis.
Yeah. My good, like this, like it was a Godzilla type thing, wasn't it? Something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I've heard it called. I've heard it called Coxzilla. I've also heard. I mean, there's the Pontiasaurus, right? Or Dickosaur. You know, there's so many possible names for
Yeah.
it. Yeah, and so it was how are we going to hold this thing up? Because if it holds itself up, it's a different rating.
Yeah. Pontius is
So,
always, put it out there. Yeah.
um, actually, it's funny. I also working for Eric Allard. We did a Energizer Bunny spot, and I like to say I was a fluffer on that one. I was just, I was making sure the tail was all pristine and fluffy, and making sure everything looked good. But I
Yeah.
was just realizing that if they had let the Zilla hold itself up, they would have had a different kind of. I might not have taken that gig.
Yeah, that's a different taste. Yeah.
Well, hey, at least you can say that you had big dick swinging at one point.
That's true. That's
Oh, there
true.
you go. Well, actually, I got so many of these proud moments on my resume. There's the shit weasel from Dreamcatcher. I puppeteered on
Yes.
that one too. I'm so proud. Yes.
Dreamcatcher's
Did
a
you
great film.
have you ever seen my my rap resume?
No.
Oh, geez, you got to check it out. Go to YouTube. All of you do that.
Yeah.
Where's my camera? Yeah. Head on out there and to YouTube and look for Bill Bryan's rap resume. It might even be resume rap, one or the other. And I don't think you even need the apostrophe in Bryan's. I've managed to find it. The thumbnail is the Hollywood sign.
Okay.
So if you see that one, you got the right one. And check it out. I mean, it's a song. I went to Japan in 2016. A guy invited me to come do a bunch of autograph signings because the Answer the Call movie was coming out. And so, I was involved with the other. And so I went there and I'm standing in front of the screen before it starts and the Q&A begins. And somebody says, well, we know that you were the Marshmellow Man, but what else have you done in your career? And I got a log jam right about here because it was like, where do I start?
Yeah.
Here I am in front. So I went home. I said, that will never happen again. And so I started, made the list and thinking of this and that. And I started thinking of how to present it. And it starts, I've been a schmellow, been a schweasel, been a bitch in a pit. Chucky wasn't done until I'd done my bit. Zebras and lions would never have met. Alien cuckoos, that giant marionette. The fairy tale hen with her golden eggs. Anaconda, Kesseltrix, what you think of them? Green blobs, eaglets, young pteranodons, a talking oak tree, and a heart for King Kong. He's the man, he's the man, he's the Marshmellow Man. If any man can do it, that's the man who can. Every day I hear it, anywhere I am, give it to the Marshmellow Man. So then there's two more verses, but I'm not going to bore you with it.
I love it.
Hey, I love it. I love it. I say that
But
should be platinum right now. Platinum. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, for sure. Well, one of the other songs we're going to be singing tomorrow is the Stay Puft Strut.
Nice.
Marshmellow Stay Puft stepping on a church. Ooh, wishing that he got a little piece of the merch. Ooh, he's a sailor in town, recently paid. This guy'll be fine if we just get him laid. It's the Stay Puft Strut. I'm a ladies' man. A candy Casanova, I'm as sweet as I can. The mean Ghostbusters with the proton throwers are trying their best to melt me into some more. Anyway, it goes on from there.
I love it.
Man, that's nice.
Multi-talented.
Anyway,
I see that as a whole new career for you. Just you should do a whole CD on that. I like it.
I'm thinking of a DVD. I want the band to be dressed as Ghostbusters behind me. I was talking to somebody about maybe making a travel guitar into a proton wand. You know, kind of.
Very cool.
Well, you can put the amp in the in the proton pack, right?
I like it.
Anyway, we'll see. But I mean, imagine the whole band behind you, just dun, 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 dun. Marshmellow Man walking down the street says, "Why am I soft in the middle now? Why am I soft in the middle when I should have been J. Edgar Hoover?" You know, it goes on.
I love it. Speaking of music, Tenacious D's Pick of Destiny you worked on too, which was really that's a great film. I love that movie. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good one. I think I think maybe Taylor was supposed to play the devil because, excuse me, because Dave couldn't, and then suddenly Dave could, and so I went in and remade the legs and the feet for him, and we went to a screening. It was fun. My girlfriend, she after the movie was over and we'd gone up the stairs behind Ronnie James Dio, by the way, and up to and Dave is standing by just inside the lobby, just inside the door to the. She's going to the bathroom, so I get to talking with him, and he said, "Oh yeah, they work great, thanks, I really appreciate it." And then Carla comes out of the bathroom, and I said, "Oh, Carla, this is Dave, Carla," and she's like, "Did you work together on the movie?" And Dave turns to her and says, "Him made very good double leg for me." He had me.
He just did Studio 666. We had BJ McDonald on the show last year, and he's a really good actor, man. He was great as the devil in that, but the whole band was in the film, but they all did. I was like surprised how great they were. Yeah.
Now I think that Alterian was doing their makeup too.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. Same group that brought me in on actually various projects. We made fat pads for sextuplets for Marlon Wayans.
Hell yeah.
Let's see, what else did we do? When Adam Sandler for what was that called? Bedtime Stories. We made some aliens, and I made the tail to wag, and anyway, various things. Speaking of wagging tails, Cat in the Hat back over at Steve Johnson, did some fun tail stuff on that because the mechanisms. There were three different tails. One that just it just whipped if he whipped. I made that. But then there was one that had two motors in it. One it was like two curves, one like this and one like that. This one's a tube, so that one can turn based on this one. And so you get this interesting combination of turns of the tail if you want it. But then there was one that was a tentacle mechanism that I don't remember. I think it was probably cable drawn. But they all had to buckle onto him instantly and off instantly so that he could sit down after a take because he just didn't want to stand around waiting. So I built this. It was the size of the motor housing for the double twist, and it was on a belt, and it was kind of based on the otter case housing for your belt. You can click it on. It's that sort of a thing where it's just enough plastic. It hooks on one side, and it'll hook once it's pushed in on the other side, and then you push back on this thing, and it pops right out. And so we were able to do that. And he thanked me. He was kind of mean to everybody else, but he was nice to me.
Well, you allowed him to sit down.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Clearly.
If he wasn't nice, you would go, "It's not quite coming undone." You're
gonna have to stand up forever.
You gotta stand for another 12 hours.
Well, Bill,
exactly.
This was fantastic, man. We really appreciate your time.
Heck yeah.
We usually end the show with one last question. We got a lot of filmmakers, musicians, writers, special effects artists. Shout out Billy Coyne. That everybody, all types of entertainers that watch the show, and we like to ask, if somebody's going through maybe a tough time or they're going through a real dry period in their in their endeavors. You got any advice for them or anything that might keep them going? Give them a little oomph, little something.
Actually, there's two of them. One of them is if things are really looking down, on March 27th, go over to the comic shop in Chatsworth, where me, Robin Shelby, Mark Brian Wilson,
Hell yeah.
and some other Ghostbusters folks will be showing. What's the name of that place? Oh, geez, I should have that on the tip of my tongue. Instead, it's in my phone right in front of me. Go to bill.staypuft on Instagram, and I'll make sure that it's up there.
Hell yeah. We'll put it in the description too.
Okay.
Yeah.
I get the right thing. Actually, yesterday, or maybe it was the day before. Anyway, I was my agent sent out the posters for it. Said blast these out on social media. So I just scraped them, shoved them, hit the button, and then I read the big one with me solo. It's got my name spelled wrong. So,
I hate that.
So,
I got
3 a.m. I'm up thinking.
Yeah.
Anyway, and so if you're feeling like that, let's see. What is that piece of advice? Oh, well, now I've always been really lucky, but luck is that place where preparation meets opportunity. And if you get yourself some of that, you're going to have some good luck.
Yeah.
How's that?
I like that. The preparation meets opportunity is very helpful advice. I've heard that before, and I love that advice. Just stay prepared and wait for the opportunity to come to you, and you'll be good. You'll be golden when it gets there. Yeah.
You may have to make the opportunity as well.
Yeah. But you definitely
that's part of preparation.
Exactly. And you definitely don't want to be not prepared when opportunity comes, because that's
exactly.
you feel bad. You think you feel bad now. Wait till that opportunity comes when you're not ready. Yeah.
I'll be right with you. All right. So this guy wanted to say goodbye.
Hey.
Here we go. So I built this.
Yeah.
During November, December, somewhere in there. Here it is. I actually made this as a costume head, but then I put the hand mechanism inside, and now there it is.
I love that.
Unfortunately, I can't see through it anymore. Look at this. Nobody's seen me like. People haven't seen me like this in a while.
There it is.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, Billy, man, this was great. Would love to have you back on the show to talk. You're a great dude, man. Great conversation. This was really fun. Thank you, man.
Good times. It was a real pleasure. Do you guys ever get together with the Ghostbusters of Boston or area or whatever, Massachusetts?
We usually see them at we got horror conventions around here, and when we get like a table at them or whatever, we usually their table's not too far behind. We're friendly with them.
Tell them.
Yeah.
Tell them I said howdy.
I will.
Now, one thing I'm trying to do is I'm trying to hook up. There's a Ghostbusters group in every town, and there's a convention in a lot of those towns. A lot of those Ghostbusters are also musicians, and I'm trying to get. When Chuck Berry came to town, he would just have his guitar and a handout for his handful of money. And then the performers would be local guys that knew his tunes. Yeah. So that's what I'm hoping is we can get together a bunch of Ghostbusters that are willing to play, the Stray Cat Strut, but I'll change the words. Call Me Al. Anybody that's listening, learn these songs because I'm coming to town.
Hell yeah.
Piano Man's fun. Who knows? there's even one that kind of happened by accident. It was, the song, I've Never Been to Spain. I think it's Hoyt Axton or something like that. Well, I've never been to Spain, but I kind of like the music, that kind of thing. Well, I was in a bar and somebody said, "Did you ever meet Sigourney?" And I said, "Well, I never met Sigourney, but I did meet Ernie Hudson." And I started thinking, wait a sec. By the time I got home, I had the whole song. It was like, it was all worked out. So you never know. There's an album, I tell you.
Yeah, dude.
Heck yeah.
All right, then. You guys got things to do. Right?
I know you're a busy man, and I would love to have you on again. And every time I'm going to be pushing for you to get you down here for a nice convention, because I would love to see that musical thing go down and get the hang out with you. You're a good dude.
That's what I want to hear. So you guys, make those announcements. Where contact the convention promoters in your hometown and beg for Billy Bryan.
We will. We got him out here, man. Have you been out this way for a convention yet? We got a couple that are definitely specialized in that direction.
I've been to Cherry Hill and Philadelphia, that kind of area, and then South or North Carolina. I think it was originally in North Carolina, but it was just over the border in South Carolina. That one. I think those are the only ones over there. But I have also been to Sweden, Stockholm and Dortmund, Germany, and London and Devon. Anyway, various places. So you'd think Boston, the hometown, would get me back.
I agree. Well, we're gonna see what we can do about that. Yeah, I'd love to help.
All right, then. Good luck. Yeah. Nice terror dog.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
There is no game. Oh, did you know? Oh, maybe not. This is the White Puffy Road. Is that what it is?
We're crossing
Something
the streams. We're crossing the streams by both showing our shirts. I like it.
Exactly. All right, then. Cheers. It's been fun.
All right, cheers. We're gonna talk to you soon. Thank you. That was fantastical. You know what I mean? That was a great ride. You know what I mean? Should I say you know what I mean one more time? You know what I mean, dude. Billy was great. Hoping to get him back into this area, spend some time with him, chill out. Very cool dude. Done everything. Worked with so many cool people, so many cool projects. Just great. And a great guy, man. I really love when we get to sit down with people and you walk away. I feel I get a high off of these things. You get to talk to these people that influenced you and that you have so much appreciation for. And me and the Hawkman walk away. We float away from the microphones after these conversations because it's just such a cool thing to be able to sit down and talk to them. Like I probably say every interview at the end of it to the Hawkman, it's like, these are people that when I was a little kid, you know what I mean? You tell a young Matthew Fisher, you know what I mean, that you got to have conversations and be cool with these people. You go, oh my goodness, did he make good? Did Matty make good? You know what I mean? Said it a million times. And we did make good, you know what I mean? It's a beautiful thing. Very fantastic. What do you want to say about it, Hawkman?
Oh, just that it was a great interview. I mean, as Matt has said that we talked to him. This is one of our longer episodes, and it's because he had so much to talk about, and he's been involved in so many cool things. And the fact is that, I mean, we've had musicians on the show. We've had actors, directors, we've had authors.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the thing is that to create the things that we love, especially TV and movies and all that, there's so many different aspects that makes a movie happen.
Yeah.
And all of it is creative and interesting. And it's one of the things that I always love to say is that what I love about movie and TV is it's one of the few artistic things where you can touch in everything, anything artistic, anything creative that you can think of that you have to, create, is used to create a film. I mean, all the way from writing the script to, the art design, the acting, the music, and another big part of it, which I don't think gets enough credit, is the special effects. And I'm, of course, I mean, as I've said before, I prefer practical effects over computer effects. But I mean, I do tip my hat to those who do computer effects that, especially when they're done well, and in my opinion, done sparingly. I think that it's great for molding with practical effects, and that makes it, you know, work the best.
Yep.
But especially when you have, these different creations. I mean, like the Stay Puft Marshmellow Man. Even to this day, I can watch Ghostbusters and be brought in, feel like a kid again watching this, because I feel like shit.
Feel like
I
shit.
can believe that there's a big Marshmallow Man about to step on the church in friggin' New York City.
Ah! That intro, dude, the introduction of the Marshmallow Man in at the end of Ghostbusters has been burnt into my brain forever in a good way. I got melted marshmallow all over the inside of my brain. Some people would say there is no brain in there; it is just melted marshmallow, and I don't. They could be right. Who knows these things? But very, this was a great time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was lucky enough to stumble upon them. I mean, it's like everything when we're looking for guests. I look around all aspects social media, and there's a lot of times that there's guests on our show that have influenced us greatly, but we never knew their name or anything about that. And he's a perfect example where, you know, and you go down that rabbit hole and you see that you got species, you got Bicentennial Man, you got so many other.
And I
Uh,
think a testament to him is I think there's I think there's a lot of good films that might not even be on IMDb. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I think that he's a
I,
dude. He got over there and he just did it. Work, 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 work. Get on
yeah.
with it. It's great, dude. I love it. I love it. Yeah.
I mean, we were talk when we were talking. He brought up things that we've never heard of that didn't happen or didn't work out. But again, he kept on working and he kept on doing more stuff. And it's always great listening and hearing people that just love the work and they keep on going and keep on grinding, and that's what he did. And because of that, there's so many things we didn't talk about. But as a kid, I grew up watching fairy tale theater. I loved it. And to be perfectly honest, I know this is going to make Matt cry, but my introduction to Shelley Duvall was fairy tale theater, not The Shining. Okay, I love, see he's crying, he's torn up, but
Come on, do it now. Come on, do it now.
but 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 yeah, I mean it's always so interesting and fun finding about people who have been a part of things that we appreciate that we didn't know were part of it. And again, hats off to Billy.
He was a
That
part of Monsters, the TV show. Since you bring up a TV show that we didn't talk about, I'll bring up a TV show we didn't talk about.
Go ahead.
One of my favorite horror TV shows, Monsters. For anybody that gets down, dude. Not it's not quite Tales from the Crypt, not quite the Twilight Zone. It's Monsters, but very, very fun. Very fun um series. 80s. It was in the 80s, I think, late 80s, early 90s. And it's just a lot of fun, a lot of cool cameos in it. I don't exactly know where it came from in the sense of like it predated Tales from the Crypt. It didn't predate Twilight Zone, of course, at least the original, life of Twilight Zone or Outer Limits. But it was like it was like Monsters is kind of like it's like Tales from the Crypt, but like, Tales from the Crypt was kind of made for. He probably worked on Tales from the Crypt too. He probably had some stint in there somewhere, but Tales from the Crypt was originally made for HBO, so like it's a little more, pushing the envelope, where Monsters was made for like a regular network. So like if you were if Tales from the Crypt was made for, you know, made for, not just aired after the fact on like a Fox 25, but if it was made for like a Fox 25, that's kind of what you're getting, where the you know, the edginess is kind of tuned down a little bit from it, but I love it. I think it's great. It's kind of like, I'm a big fan of like weird horror, like kid horror in a way. Like you take like a film like The Willies maybe, and with our boy Michael Bauer, you know what I mean? Um, and it's kind of like that, you know what I mean? Which I love those. I love those like horror movies that are like practic. They're like kid movies, but they're horror movies. You know what I mean? I'm a big fan. You know, Beastmaster, I feel kind of fits into that category. It's more of a science fiction-y type deal, action adventure, but there's like a very kid element to it that I love. And you know, shout out Don Coscarelli, friend of the show. Um, but very cool. This was a great talk. You know what I mean? So
Oh
much.
yeah.
He was so open, gave us so much stuff, and you know, gracias all day long. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's just one thing I want to throw in
Then do
because
it. Then do it, man.
as we were talking, I got a message from Billy, and he wanted me to throw out and just let the people out there know that he's also on Cameo.com
Okay.
and also Patreon, where he will be doing Stay Puft fabrication lessons. If
Interesting.
if anyone's interested, and I think I say definitely check it out because I that is so interesting and a art form that I think is because I mean as you listened with him telling how he put like the suits together and making sure that they would move and all that. If you have any interest in doing actual like special effects, like practical effects in film, I say definitely hit him up. Check him out
Even
on Cameo. Check him out on Patreon. You know, take some lessons from someone who's been in the industry for a long time, who's created some of the most iconic creatures out there.
even if you're just a fan of Ghostbusters, I
Yeah,
mean, how cool is it for the dude that made it and wore it to show you how to make one you could put on your you know, on your TV, or put it on, you know, you have it in your entertainment room, you know what I mean? That's super cool. Even if you don't want to do special effects, I think that's still a pretty cool deal. And we actually got a Stay Puft Marshmellow Man cameo up in here too. He joined the ranks of Roger Rabbit up in
yeah.
this Mo Trucka. And very beautiful, man. Very beautiful. A lot of fun, you know. So that being said, you know, we thank Billy for being on the show and being so gracious with his time and stories, and we thank everybody out there listening and watching. If you'd be listening to the good old We're Everywhere audio, and then we got the YouTube, you're probably watching it on the tubes.